How to get your Amazon certificate of insurance approved. If you're watching this, you probably submitted your COI to Amazon and for some unknown reason, they said they couldn't verify it. Well, you're in the right place because in this video, I'll walk you through all the most common reasons Amazon rejects COIs, including the small details people usually skim right over, and the ones most people don't even think to check. I also have a final checklist that you'll be able to reference or even give to your broker that I'll link to in the description. What Amazon is doing is checking whether very specific requirements are met and whether those requirements line up across 3 different places. First, the insurance policy itself has to meet Amazon's minimum requirements. Second, the certificate of insurance has to clearly show certain details that Amazon expects to see. And third, the fields you fill out when you upload the COI in Seller Central have to match what's actually written on the certificate exactly, and certain information elsewhere in Seller Central. If any of those 3 things don't line up, Amazon will reject the submission, even if the insurance itself is perfectly valid. That's why this issue comes up so often with established product brands. You already have insurance, you upload the certificate, and then Amazon rejects it without clearly telling you what's wrong. I'm going to go through each of the common issues that cause COIs to be rejected. If you find an issue that applies to you, don't stop watching the video. Often there's multiple things you'll need to change, and you want to make a list of everything that needs changing all at once so that you can give the full list to your insurance broker all at once so they can make the changes and send you an updated COI. Now, before you start fixing wording or re-uploading certificates, it's worth doing a quick sanity check to make sure the policy itself actually meets Amazon's baseline requirements. Because if the policy doesn't qualify, no amount of COI formatting is going to get it approved. At a minimum, Amazon requires a commercial general liability policy with at least $1 million of coverage per occurrence and at least $2 million aggregate. For most established product brands, this is already what you have. The other big thing Amazon looks at here is the policy type. Amazon's default expectation is an occurrence-based policy. That's what most standard product brands will have, and that's what Amazon prefers. Claims-made policies are only allowed in very specific situations. Amazon allows claims-made policies if you sell certain types of products, including pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals or dietary supplements, ingestible products, chemicals, critical automotive parts, certain children's consumable products that aren't insurable under an occurrence policy. If you're using a claims-made policy for one of these categories, this needs to be clearly explained on the certificate of insurance. In the description of operations section, your broker should spell out the types of products you sell and note that occurrence-based insurance is not available for those products. That context helps Amazon understand why the policy is a claims-made policy. One more thing to check while you're here, the deductible. Amazon requires the deductible to be under $10,000, and they need to be able to see it on the COI. If it isn't shown anywhere on the COI, Amazon may reject it. Once you've confirmed the policy meets these requirements, you now know it's just about fixing paperwork issues, not buying a different policy or different coverage. Now here's some common upload mistakes that cause instant rejections. The most common issue actually happens before Amazon even looks at your certificate. It happens in the form on Seller Central itself because people do not fill this in correctly. The most common one is the name of insurer field. This is always filled out incorrectly whenever I see it. When Amazon asks for the name of the insurer, a lot of people enter the name of their broker or insurance agency. They are shown in the producer section of the COI, but that is not the insurer. The insurer is listed separately, often in smaller text on the right side, usually labeled as Insurer A. When you fill out the upload form in Seller Central, the name of insurer field must match the Insurer A name exactly. Pay close attention to the name of insured. That must match the COI exactly. Don't use a brand name or an abbreviation here. It also needs to match the entity that the seller account is under. The policy number must match character for character. Don't make any typos here. Try to copy and paste it perfectly. Don't add an extra space at the beginning or end. Policy start date and policy end date. This has to match exactly. And here's the thing. Different countries do the month and day in a different order. So make sure you're using the format that Amazon wants. In the US, it'll be month, day, and then year, whereas in many other countries it may be day, month, and then year. And then it's also possible that your COI has the opposite format, so check for that. If any of this information is entered incorrectly, Amazon will reject it before they even get to reviewing the actual certificate and policy itself. Let's move on to the certificate wording. Amazon does require that they are added as an additional insured on the policy itself. And the way this is typically done is by having your insurance agent add Amazon.com Services LLC and its affiliates and assignees, that exact name, and the address, P.O. Box 81226, Seattle, Washington, 9A108-1226. In most cases where a COI is rejected, Amazon is actually added correctly on the policy. That's almost never the problem that I see. The problem is that Amazon can't clearly verify from the certificate of insurance because the COI doesn't actually say it. What Amazon needs to see is written confirmation on the COI itself, usually in the description of operations section, stating that they are included as an additional insured. The wording your broker should include looks like this. Amazon.com Services LLC and its affiliates and assignees are included as additional insureds on this policy. This language needs to be written out on the COI. This is not something a broker would normally do itself, and you'll often see Amazon listed in this certificate holder section, but that by itself is often not enough. So if this language isn't already on your COI, get your broker to write it on there and reissue a COI with that exact wording. The next issue comes up a lot with established brands, especially ones that have multiple entities, parent companies, or DBAs. So Amazon checks the legal entity name on the certificate of insurance against the legal entity listed in your Seller Central account. Here's how to check that in Seller Central. If you're on the classic Seller Central layout, you hover over the gear icon in the top right corner, click Account Info, select Business Information, and then click Legal Entity. If you're on the newer Seller Central layout, click the circle with the 3 dots in the top right corner, click Settings, select Account Settings, and then click Business Information on the left-hand side and click Legal Entity. You'll see it highlighted in blue. If the name on the COI doesn't match, they'll usually reject it. This may require a conversation with your broker. In most cases, they'll have to update the named insured on the COI to match the Seller Central legal entity exactly. Depending on how your insurance is set up, that might involve adding the seller entity specifically to the policy. Always double check the legal entity Amazon has on file and make sure that exact name appears on the COI. Now here's a final checklist of what to verify before you resubmit. I'm going to also include a link to a written checklist you can actually share directly with your broker in the description of this video. Your policy itself meets Amazon's requirements, correct limits, deductible under $10,000, and the correct policy type. The name of the insurer in the upload form matches the insurer A on the COI, not the broker or the producer. The name of insured in the form matches the COI exactly and matches the legal entity on the Amazon seller account. The policy number matches character for character with no typos. The start and end dates match exactly and the policy is active. Watch for swaps of the day and the month if you're outside the US. Amazon is added as an additional insured on the policy, and the COI clearly states in writing that Amazon.com Services LLC and its affiliates and assignees are included as additional insureds on this policy. If all of those boxes are checked, approvals are usually very straightforward. At this point, you should have a clear understanding of why your certificate was rejected and exactly what needs to be fixed. In most cases, this isn't about buying new insurance or changing your coverage. It's just about making sure Amazon can clearly verify the information they're looking for. If you do need to go back to your broker, make sure you give them one complete list of changes instead of fixing things one at a time. They should be able to reissue the certificate with these items added. They may be surprised that Amazon requires this level of detail, but you can simply tell them Amazon has specifically requested it. Once everything is submitted and approved, you should see the status change to verified successfully in the business insurance section of Seller Central. Now, insurance is just one example of an Amazon system where brands often assume they're getting all the value without realizing there are benefits they're missing. A lot of brands are enrolled in Amazon Brand Registry, but they're not actually getting all the benefits that come with it simply because they don't know they exist. If you want to make sure you're not missing protections or tools you already have access to, Watch my video on how Amazon Brand Registry actually works and the benefits many brands overlook. You can click right here to watch that next.